come together as one global community. We come together to share our challenges, yes, to share our best practices, and maybe most importantly, to share our dreams, hopes, visions, and plans, because that will energize us, that will nurture us, and give us the belief to move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome more than 2 million viewers from over 100 countries. You have joined by live television, you have joined through the YouTube. Welcome. And I'm sure this will be a wonderful afternoon, as we will be sharing with you insights from inspiring 150 speakers from around the globe. Now, let's look into the program. We will kick it off with the opening keynote panel discussion. We very much look forward to that, and we'll then invite you to visit 12 theme-based parallel breakout sessions. So you can pick and choose. And this day is about health, so we thought it would be appropriate to invite you to a relaxation lounge. We will have a meditation with Swami Jyotirmaya. We'll then invite you again to theme-based parallel breakout sessions, 11 of them, and come together for the concluding keynote session. And in a global conference, in a virtual conference, we all are actors. We all can be and are agents of change. So we would like to invite you to use your social media to share what has touched you, to share what worries you, to share your key takeaways. You can tag WFEB, and you could also use and tag the hashtag changing times. A global crisis calls for global collaboration. I think this conference showcases that. We are so proud and happy that we have been able to collaborate with 17 international organizations. And I can say on behalf of the whole team that every moment and every moment of collaboration was and is a true joy. But without further ado, I would like to introduce the keynote panel. We will hear the message of Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, the founder of the World Forum for Ethics in Business, the founder, of course, of the Art of Living Foundation. We have with us, and we will hear the message of the Honorable Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the World Health Organization, from Slovenia, His Excellency Mr. Janez Janša, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Slovenia. We are happy to welcome from Suriname His Excellency Mr. Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, the President of the Republic of Suriname. From Belgium, the home of the WFEB, the Honorable Professor Peter de Sutter, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Civil Service in Belgium. From the land of peace, from Norway, we invite and are pleased to have Honorable Mr. Kjell Magne Bondevik, the former Prime Minister of Norway and the founder and executive chair of the Oslo Center. From the UK, the Honorable Miss Jo Churchill, the Minister for Public Health, Primary Care and Prevention, a member of the Parliament of the United Kingdom. Sports will be represented, and we are happy to have Mr. Michel Uva, the Director of Football and Social Responsibility of the UEFA, the European Soccer Association. And representing science, we have with us Dr. Christian Garbe, the Managing Director of the Frankfurt Innovation Center in Germany. And I'm happy to now welcome Ms. Rachita Kulkarni, the President of the World Forum for Ethics in Business. Rachita, Ms. Kulkarni, could you open this conversation?
Thank you, Christoph. That was a very wonderful opening remarks, and thank you for welcoming all of us. Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar ji, Excellencies, esteemed dignitaries, speakers, institutional and media partners, and all the people joining us virtually from over 100 countries of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm joining you from Mumbai, India. On behalf of the World Forum for Ethics in Business, its board and its global team, I am honored and delighted to welcome all of you to this global summit on changing paradigms in a pandemic world. For the last decade and a half, the mission and vision of the World Forum for Ethics in Business has been to create awareness and advocacy for ethics, transparency, and good governance in all walks of life. By hosting multi-stakeholder platforms for strategic and topical issues, WFAB has gained incredible international respect and credibility as a neutral, objective convener and impactful conveyor of solutions and recommendations. This is borne out by the fact that today we are joined by over 2 million people from over 100 countries on this summit, which for the next 6 hours will see more than 150 speakers speak across 25 sessions, current and ex-heads of states, health ministers, CEOs, health professionals, bureaucrats, frontline workers, sportspersons, educators, artists, students, youth, women, and families. All of you have joined us today, and I welcome you again to what promises to be an inspirational day of insights and learning. Today is the World Health Day. For the last 1 year, if there is one thing that has been on the mind of the world, it's our health and the impact on our health by the COVID-19 pandemic. For the first time in 100 years, the world has been faced with a common adversity. It has claimed over 2.78 million lives worldwide. Many of those who recovered are still suffering long COVID debilitating effects. Not only our physical health, our mental and emotional health suffered like never before. As we all know, the number of people experiencing stress, anxiety, and depression has increased by shocking percentages the world over. Being called a year of extreme isolation, not being able to meet and connect with friends and family, teams and co-workers has broken our hearts and spirits many a time. It indeed has been a tough year. Economically also, the IMF estimated that the global economy shrunk by close to 5% in 2020, having cascading impacts on incomes, unemployment levels, and poverty numbers. It has indeed recalibrated the way we live, work, connect, and celebrate, and every section of society, all of us, have been impacted in our own unique ways. Yet, in this scenario, what I am convinced is that history will record this year as a triumph of the human spirit and a resurgence of human values. It also catalyzed us to accelerate innovation, with multiple vaccines being invented in record time in human history. However, this common adversity, which does not seem to be going away yet, is now compelling us to come together as one global community to seek global solutions. The paradigms of our life are changing, so our approaches to dealing with them need to change indeed. With this in mind, in the conference today, we will discuss many important topics, like what is the future of healthcare? What is the integrative approach we can take towards health and wellness? What after vaccination? How can we keep up the happiness quotient, the resilience up in our universities, in our workplaces? How can women deal with it? What can we do to strengthen the peace building process? And many more such relevant and insightful topics will be discussed today in the conference. I believe that all of us have a role to play in finding new solutions to define living life in a symbiotic, positive, joyful, and healthy way. And we all need to cooperate in every way at every level, micro and macro. I believe that this global summit is one step in this direction. And therefore, I look forward to hearing every voice from every unique lens and perspective, listening to every unique challenge and every positive suggestion so that we can move forward together towards a sustainable future. There are many important leaders, voices, and stakeholders in the summit today. Let us take this opportunity to put open and important questions to each other. And let's not be defensive in sharing the truth and giving answers. In conclusion, I want to share three things: a caution, a reflection, and an aspiration. The caution: this level of pandemic last happened in 1918 with huge human, social, and political implications, including World War II and the rise of fascism. My reflection is that given that no one had prior experience of this problem, of this magnitude. And the heartbeat of the world suddenly stopped, yet we did very well in our response. However, could we have done better in being transparent about information, being proactive about actions? Could we have done more in assigning responsibilities and accountabilities? Could we have done more in thinking beyond national interests and agendas and collaborating more as a world? My aspiration is that in the matter of the coming months, large portions of the world will be vaccinated, economies will be rebounding, jobs will be created, and a new world, cautious but optimistic, will emerge. What we have to ensure is reformation, where we put the happiness and fulfillment of people, communities, and nations, and the whole world as one human family as our top priority. We acknowledge, address the issues collaboratively, and seek solutions that are equitable, practical, and comprehensive. Pandemics in the past have reshaped human civilizations. We are at one such threshold in our lifetime. We assure you that at the World Forum for Ethics in Business, we will continue this conversation and play our role to ensure that together we make our world a better place. I look forward to interacting with you and hearing from you as we have the conference roll out today. I end with an Indian prayer, Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu, which means let all people of the world be happy. Namaste.
Namaste, and thank you so much, Rachita. Thank you for your remarks, for your insights, and I would also say for your great leadership you have shown over the last years as the president of the World Forum for Ethics in Business. I would now like to inform you that the message of Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar will be read by Mr. Prashant S. Nair. He's a trustee of the Art of Living Trust. We have received message that Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar unfortunately has a sore throat and is resting, and therefore he has asked Mr. Nair to represent him. Mr. Nair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christoph G. It is my honor to deliver the message from Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen from around the world. This World Health Day has more significance than ever before. Today, when the whole world's health is challenged like never before by the pandemic, the global community has to come together to fight the cause and find the cure. While the humanity is grappling with COVID-19, there is so much of confusion about its origin and cure. People are asking this question, how come a virus has just rattled the world from nowhere and across all climatic conditions? Health has no origin, but disease does. Health has no cause or reason, but disease does. Diseases occur when the laws of nature are violated. 2.8 million lives have been lost. Keeping aside narrow ambitions and self-centered goals, one must come together for the sake of mankind and impartially probe the origin of the disease and the laws that were violated, if any. Also, the global community has to collectively work to tame this pandemic. Researchers need to come forward with a very open mindset to find a solution through the traditional medicine systems as well. Vaccination is of course for prevention, but we also need to find a cure through Ayurveda, herbal and various other systems of medicines that are there on the planet. We never know. Along with this, we need to envision a new world that is physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy and spiritually blossomed. Yoga, breathing techniques, and meditation will help us in this. Let's join together and come up with an action plan for realizing the above. Despite the dark clouds of gloom, silver linings will emerge bright enough to bring hope. Mankind has fought against and prevailed over such threats before, and it will definitely do so this time as well. I would like to congratulate the millions of healthcare and frontline workers, scientists, and other officials who have worked tirelessly and committed themselves to selfless service in order to help us overcome this crisis. Their dedication, love, and care for humanity has given us hope for the future. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Let the whole world be well and happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nari, for sharing these opening remarks of Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, remarks which definitely make us reflect, but also give us hope. And we wish Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar a fast recovery. It's now my pleasure to call upon the Honorable Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the World Health Organization. Dr. Tedros, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, moderator. Excellencies, heads of state, heads of government, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and friends. First of all, I would like to thank Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, the founder of the World Forum for Ethics in Business and the Art of Living Foundation, for inviting me and for bringing us all together today. And thank you for your leadership. And I'm very pleased that you're hosting today's meeting on World Health Day. And thank you so much. And as Sri Sri said, this is a very different, actually, and special day. We are celebrating it in the middle of the pandemic. And thank you so much for hosting this meeting. It has now been more than 14 months since I declared COVID-19 a global health emergency. In that time, the pandemic has brought out the best and worst in humanity. We have seen acts of incredible courage from health workers and from communities around the world on a daily basis. We have seen incredible efforts by ethical businesses to help people to thrive. But the pandemic has also worsened inequalities in our societies, deepened global geopolitical fault lines, and frayed the bonds of trust in our public institutions. We have seen how some businesses are trying to profit at the expense of those in need. The world has been given a new sense of hope with the development of life-saving vaccines in record time, of course. But we also knew from experience that market forces alone would not achieve the equitable distribution of these life-saving tools. Vaccine equity is the challenge of our time. Looking at the current state of COVID vaccination, of the more than 520 million vaccine doses administered so far, over 85% have gone to high income or upper middle income countries, while low income countries have received just 0.1%. I repeat, 0.1%. When countries vaccinate younger, healthy people at low risk of disease, it threatens the lives of health workers, older people, and vulnerable groups in other countries. The inequitable distribution of vaccines is not just a moral outrage. It's also economically and epidemiologically self-defeating. These grave vaccine inequities could well lead to viral variants of concern gaining the upper hand and slowing the global economic recovery. It's for this reason that WHO and partners created the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator and the COVAX Vaccines Pillar to bolster the equitable distribution of life-saving therapeutics, diagnostics, and vaccines to those most in need in every country in the world. This pandemic still has a long way to run. Intense transmission is ongoing, and is putting enormous pressure on hospitals, intensive care units, and health workers. The decisions we all make as leaders and individuals can be the difference between life and death. Over the past year, we have all been reminded of some fundamental truths: that life is fragile, that health is precious, and that we're one humanity. We may have different cultures, languages, and creeds, but we share the same DNA, the same planet, and the same hopes and dreams. The COVID-19 pandemic is not our first global crisis, and it will not be our last. What is clear is that it has thrived amid the inequalities in our societies and the gaps in our health systems. We have to learn the lessons of this pandemic. Attempting to save money by neglecting environmental protection, emergency preparedness, health systems, and social safety nets has proven to be a false economy, and the bill is now being paid many times over. When we now start building societies for the future that fully embrace those fundamental truths, ethical business can and must play its part. That means business that considers the impact that its actions, products, and services have on the environment, people, and animals. It means business that includes ethical standards for products and service at every stage, from design to delivery. In the aftermath of this global pandemic, we have an unprecedented opportunity to strengthen cross-sectoral collaboration and use health as a driver for development. These efforts will not only contribute to the prevention of future pandemics, but will help to build more resilient and equitable systems, environments, economies, and societies. Working together, we can build the healthier, safer, and fairer world we all want. And apologies before I end that I can't stay with you, as you know, because today is World Health Day and we have many other commitments. I wish I could be with you, but I hope you will understand. And I would also like to wish Shri a fast recovery. I'm sorry to hear that he's unwell, but I wish him fast recovery. Thank you so much, and I wish you a very successful deliberation. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dr. Tedros, and thank you for reminding us on this World Health Day that we are one world family, that we belong. I think that is so important so that we can be resilient as a global family. Thank you so much. And I would now like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Janez Janša, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Slovenia, to address us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Glasser. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. It depends on which part of the globe are you participating this conference. And thank you, Mrs. Rachita, for organizing this conference on these important days and on these important topics. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, as Dr. Tedros just said, we often hear that hard times bring out the best and the worst of people. The COVID pandemic is a great example of that. We have seen the selfless commitment of medical workers across the world, as well as the rise of black market of personal protective equipment, and during last month also black market of the vaccines. Some similarities might be detected at the state level as well. For example, Although member states of the European Union do not have enough vaccine for their citizens, they have still exported almost 80 million doses to over 30 countries. Moreover, the European Union is also the lead donor to COVAX, which has delivered over 30 million doses of vaccines to over 50 countries. As such, it would be highly appreciated and indeed beneficial for the global community if the EU's allies would join us in the selfless action and reciprocity. Moreover, it is folly to assume that once we in the West will be vaccinated, we will be safe from this pandemic. If the rest of the world does not receive the vaccine, the virus will mutate and reappear in new versions in the West as well. Until the whole world receives vaccine, we as a humanity will not defeat the virus. As we all know, it took nearly 200 years to eradicate, to cancel the dangers of smallpox. Yet, I am optimistic that this will not be the case with COVID-19. Within a year of the outbreak, scientists and pharmaceutical companies have produced vaccines that would usually take around 10 years to do. As such, we have the knowledge and we are building the capacities to tackle the virus. We are also gaining the experiences for next possible epidemics. And we have learned that the more we display solidarity with our fellow humans, the sooner we will ultimately defeat this current disease. The efficacy of our fight against the pandemic will therefore depend on the leadership of statesmen if they all recognize and solve the vaccine moral dilemma. Namely, if they act egoistically, their respective states may benefit in the short run and lose out in the long term. But if we all act in solidarity, our gains will be in the long run, which will come at a short-term cost. And we all know that all statesmen, all leaders have 100% responsibility for their own states, for the people who elected them. But this is not the end of the responsibility, speaking about the pandemic. We all also know that there is not a simple and very straightforward answer to this dilemma or to this puzzle. The current situation illustrates the Max Weber's ethical dilemma of ethics of convention versus ethics of responsibility. For Weber, the political virtue resides in a willful combination of both in a unified soul. Hence, the most prudent way forward is that state leaders, if I'm speaking very practically, enhance COVAX agreement to include the whole world in a distribution mechanism, extend its partnership to private entities, and assure some benefits to vaccine investors, producers, and developers, because without such approach, there is no progress. I'm sure, and this was clearly demonstrated, not 100%, but in vast majority, that statesmen do not run away from our obligations and responsibilities, but the final proof will still have to come during next months. And also interacting with many volunteers and NGOs in the past year, I know they contribute their share in the fight with the pandemic as well. So, dear friends, it is only a matter of time when we will triumph over the COVID pandemic. I'm optimist regarding that, but yet more important or the horizon question is, will we be better or worse people and societies after it? The answer to this question is being shaped as I speak. So in current real time in the near future. In fact, every day of the pandemic matters for human solidarity and for global governance. It is the state leaders that need to display a moral compass now more than maybe ever. And only so can we lead the states and societies into a better and more prosperous future. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, Mr. Janez Janša, thank you so much for your words. Thank you so much for your contribution. From Slovenia to Suriname, we would now like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Chandrika Persad Santokhi, the President of the Republic of Suriname. Please.
We have to unmute, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you, distinguished Mr. Moderator, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I offer you my warm greetings on this occasion of the commemoration of World Health Day 2021 on behalf of the people and government of my country, Suriname. Allow me to thank you for the invitation to address this auspicious event on the occasion of World Health Day 2021. I particularly wish to acknowledge Shri Ravi Shankar ji for the great work he does and taking the initiative for this conference, and I wish you good health and may God bless you. The main theme for this virtual conference is the call for action to eliminate health inequities. In this respect, it is a timely and indispensable global campaign to build fairer and healthier world by bringing people together. It is precisely this approach, bringing people together, that's the key to build a better, prosperous, safer, and healthier society. Considering the importance of this approach, the driving force of my government has been to lift Suriname from its moral decline, from the economic crisis, from poverty, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Especially in these challenging times, international cooperation and collective action is more than ever required to foster equality and solidarity. This will undoubtedly steer our future actions in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, when we must be vigilant to make sure that the COVID-19 vaccines remain available to developing countries and not merely to the developed countries. Therefore, it is of utmost importance to combine our efforts to work constructively together. Bringing people together, building stronger communities is a key part of my government. It is challenging given the history of our country with its rich cultural and religious diversity. This diversity must be understood and recognized in order to ensure its crucial role in uniting the nation. Because cultural diversity is a tremendous asset to humankind, let us work to do it. and existing inequalities globally and regionally in today's new normal cannot create division and distance. I'm confident that we'll meet these challenges by being transparent and accountable to our people. Honesty and the importance of common goal are important in achieving our aspiration. It is what I promised to the country in my inauguration, not the sugarcoat reality, but tell the truth. To be honest on where we stand and where we are heading. The COVID-19 pandemic made the relationship between the government and the citizens even more challenging. The strict measures to fight the pandemic have put pressures on our citizens. Freedom of movement is limited, as are other liberties. At the same time, distrust has arisen towards government. These listings bring me to the key question of this conference, and that is how to regain trust in a pandemic world with changing paradigms. We must acknowledge that the COVID-19 pandemic has also created a world crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected several sectors, while international financial institutions have provided insufficient criteria to address requests for financial assistance for these sectors. Our Minister of Health, the Honorable Amar Ramadan, will go into more detail about Surinamese addresses the COVID-19 pandemic. In brief, the focus is to contain the spread of the virus in line with the WHO guidelines and to vaccinate our people in a systematic way. We are well underway, and our aim is to have the key groups of persons vaccinated by the end of 2021. Simultaneously, we'll normalize and open our society. Our approach is fighting the pandemic is to be open, truthful, while at the same time creating the awareness in society that we are together in this fight. Beyond containing the spread and vaccination programs, there is a special and unique responsibility for the members of the society. Both individually and collectively, we must recognize the importance of mitigate the impact by living up the new social rules, norms, and values. Everybody has to play his or her part. The title of this conference suggests the shift in paradigms in our pandemic world. These shifts are not merely the result of a change of a new generation that takes over the reins of government. They are also influenced and may I submit for your consideration, facilitated by the explosion of social media, the deliberate spreading of misinformation, and this phenomenon of fake news. We have all experienced this very clearly recently with the many fake theories about the vaccine against COVID-19. Thus, there are multiple sources of the erosion of trust and confidence. Erosion of trust in science, erosion of trust in the healthcare system, erosion of trust in politicians and government, and erosion in trust in news media. We must actively fight this misinformation pandemic as well. We must also focus on the opportunities of the COVID-19 pandemic brings. For example, this conference, which we are now holding virtually, would normally be held in one of our countries where we would be with more than 100 plus people. As a result, this virtual conferencing can be considered as an institutionalized post-COVID. We are also facing a back to basic paradigm where the COVID-19 pandemic brought us close again with our families and created more opportunities to pray together. We all pay more attention to our health and those of others. Our education is also an example of opportunity. Many were reluctant to distance learning up till recent. Now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is appreciated as a safe and logical solution. These examples can be considered as an institutionalized post-COVID as well. So can we all perpetuate these opportunities? As I pointed out before, Suriname is facing a triple challenge. On top of the pandemic and consequently its economic crisis, we inherit a ruined economy. I make no excuses for being blunt about that. In this connection, our fight of the pandemic is not merely a healthcare fight. It is also financial, social, and moral battle for survival. Even with the limited resources available to my government, we'll have to be creative and innovative in fighting this battle. However, I'm confident that we'll win this battle, but we'll need the assistance of our friends in the international community. We are well underway in our negotiation with the IMF and our creditors to stabilize our economy, to restructure our debts, and to make our economy healthy and sustainable again. But more is needed from the international community to support Suriname. Continued efforts to achieve improvement are needed. Such efforts will benefit all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the opportunity to share my views on these important issues. We can only succeed in fighting cynicism and regain trust if our people feel the change and see the perspective of a better future. To make that happen, we all need to do our part. I also take the opportunity to thank the government of India for supporting our developing countries like Suriname by sharing their vaccines. Where the COVID-19 pandemic puts solidarity under pressure, India has shown and still expresses its solidarity. I wish you all a fruitful discussion, and I'm looking forward to the outcomes of this conference. Thank you, and may God bless you all. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, President Santoki, for sharing your insights on how we, as a global community, can regain the trust. Now, ladies and gentlemen, since 2006, Belgium, Brussels, the European Parliament has been the home of the World Forum for Ethics in Business. The World Forum hosts every year global satellite conferences. It holds now also virtual conferences, but the annual conference is always taking place in Brussels, in the European Parliament. So we are so happy to have with us the Honorable Professor Peter de Sutter, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Civil Service of this beautiful country, Belgium. The word is yours.
Guruji, dear friends from all over the world, I'm very delighted to have been invited here to address some words to you all. And I want to thank Sri Ravi Shankar and his team for hosting this event. Did you know that when I was appointed Deputy Prime Minister in Belgium a few months ago, Guruji was the first person in the world to congratulate me? I was, and I'm still very grateful for this, and for the connection we have, even though we live in different parts of the world. Today, I'm here before you as Belgian Deputy Prime Minister, and I feel very honored to be given this opportunity. I have accepted this function with gratitude because I see it as my way to make this world a better place. That is what we all share here. Each one of us tries to make this world a better place in their own particular way with their own talents. And this is why we are here today, to celebrate the change we can achieve if we believe in ourselves and work together. And to celebrate that in all our diversity, we are one. When I started as a Belgian minister last October, our country, just like many others, was in the midst of the second wave in the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, we're still in this crisis that was going to be the great equalizer. Now, very soon we found out it was not. The virus turned out to be a catalyst for inequality. People who live in poverty suffer far more on all levels. The lockdown is much heavier when you live for a long time with many people in a small or poorly equipped home, very often without a terrace or a garden to get fresh air. Working or studying at home is a lot more difficult when you don't have access to proper internet connections. The loss of jobs has been greater in the lower income jobs, the illness and death rates higher. And this is a big concern and challenge for all policymakers. I'm very much aware of this inequality. And with every political decision we make, I ask myself, what is the impact of this decision on the well-being of all our citizens? There is a way out of this crisis, and vaccines will be at the center point. What worries me is that some countries have more resources to buy vaccines and to demand to be treated first in line. This virus has divided us on a personal level. We must keep distance from our loved ones. Well, on a global level, we could turn it into a great uniter. I make a plea for the richest countries to invest more in the COVAX program so that we can distribute vaccines equitably all over the world. And also, let's discuss patents around vaccines without taboos. We as governments have invested a great deal in the development of these vaccines. And in an exceptional crisis situation, we can ask the manufacturers of the vaccines to open up their patents and their technological knowledge, which will help us to produce more vaccines all over the world for free or at an acceptable cost. We can only come out of this crisis together. No one will really be safe unless everyone is safe. And this could be a worldwide momentum to show our humanity, to show that we care. Another thing this crisis has shown us is that we need to take better care of this planet and its biodiversity. More and more people suffer from climate change. And again, it's the people who are most vulnerable that suffer the most. The pandemic has been caused by an animal sickness which has jumped over into human beings because of our cohabitation between humans and animals that has been disturbed. Scientists agree that this will happen more in the future if we don't remedy this. In my country, I am finally seeing a shift in people's minds. Just before the corona crisis started to lock us up in our homes, thousands and thousands of young people went out into the streets to ask, or even stronger, to demand their governments to take more climate action. As we speak, there is a lawsuit going on in my country, started by more than 50,000 people who united and went to court as one to push the governments to be more ambitious in their fight against climate change. All these actions are so strong and really do lead to results. When we formed the government in Belgium last year, all political parties involved agreed on a firm governing agreement in regard to tackling the climate challenges. Even our Liberal Prime Minister was proud to announce that our agreement was the greenest ever to date. This is historical. Not only the corona crisis, but also climate change puts us before an enormous worldwide challenge. And again, it affects us all, and only united will we be able to find solutions that help move us all forward. That is why this gathering with people from all over the world gives me so much hope. We are here to inspire each other, to lift each other's spirits, to learn from each other, and above all, to share the love that we feel for all living things and our beautiful planet Earth. United, we will make it stronger. The world can only be saved by strong moral leadership. Let us be the ones setting the example. I thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Peter de Sutter. Your message really touched me. I think it was a message of love. You said that nobody is safe until everybody is safe, and you shared with us that you experience a change in mindset in your country. And that's so important, because Our mindsets create a culture, and we need a culture of health. We also need a culture of peace, and it's great that we have with us the former Prime Minister of one of the countries of peace on this planet, the Honorable Mr. Kjell Magne Bondevik, the former Prime Minister of Norway, and importantly, the founder and executive chair of the Oslo Center. Mr. Bondevik, may I invite you to share your thoughts with us. And it is important, Mr. Bondevik, that you would unmute yourself, which you could do in a button left side down. Exactly, perfect. We can't hear you, but you are unmuted. So I request technical assistance. Mr. Bondevik is unmuted, but we can't hear him.
Christoph, maybe we can move to the next speaker while we troubleshoot this.
Right. I think that would be absolutely appropriate. I would then invite us to move forward and visit the UK. The UK has been very successful in dealing with the pandemic in the recent months, and we have with us Ms. Jo Churchill, the Minister for Public Health, Primary Care, Prevention, a member of the UK Parliament. Ms. Churchill, would you like to address us?
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Your Excellencies, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely grateful to the World Forum for Ethics in Business for bringing us together today for this timely discussion. It's right that we're sharing our experiences across international borders on this World Health Day. And as others have said, one of the positives is that we can do this as a community in a different way now. But equally, the pandemic has reinforced the need to do this each and every day of the year. For the topics under discussion today, from the pandemic to mental health, are not simply the challenges of our time, but are central challenges for the whole of humanity. Because health policy never stands alone. It's the interconnection of economic policy, security policy, social policy, all rolled into one. And the virus has laid bare how the vulnerable suffer the most. This year, the United Kingdom has the honour of holding the presidency of the G7 at what I know we'll all agree is a time of real turmoil. But it's also a moment in history when we can, if we choose, build a stronger international health system. One where we learn the lessons of the pandemic, but where we learn from each other and care for each other too. The ambitions are universal, built in four parts. Firstly, health security for all, working with partners to prevent, detect, and respond to outbreaks. As Dr. Tedros described earlier, the challenges are vast, but we believe the World Health Organization must sit at the heart of this challenge. Hence, we've boosted our support for the organization by nearly a third, and we're working with them on a whole range of projects, such as the One Health Intelligence Hub, which is bringing our global patchwork of pandemic surveillance networks together and integrating them. So collectively, we can look at human health, animal health, and all parts of our environment together and for everyone. The role of transparent, accurate information is vital here, protecting us all by knowledge. Secondly, the UK is determined to provide international leadership on how clinical trials can work better across borders. The pandemic has reinforced just how important clinical trials are. They've meant that we've identified the vaccines, the therapeutics, and the diagnostics that work and save lives. And here I'd like to add my thanks to all those who have worked tirelessly and at a phenomenal speed to do this. The work of scientists, academics, and healthcare workers. But we know we've got to be better at recognizing each other's data and insights. And that's what we all should focus on through greater international collaboration and shared standards, protecting us all through evidence-based science. Thirdly, we need to tackle the silent pandemic of antimicrobial resistance, especially bacterial resistance. If we fail to act now, the consequences will be far more deadly than COVID in the long run. We need to protect us all through vision. And finally, we need to embrace the vast opportunities afforded to us by advances in digital health. In the United Kingdom, we've used artificial intelligence to make sure vital resources like ventilators and oxygen were in the right place at the right time. But looking forward, the delivery of medicines, diagnostics, and care can all be enhanced by AI, not by replacing the personal, but further supporting the individual for a life of better health, a better quality life. But we know pandemics don't respect borders. With internationally recognized standards for AI, underpinned by a strong ethical framework, we will have a far greater capacity to act as one in future global health challenges. And I see building on the great work of the Global Digital Health Partnership as a vital part of this, protecting us all through scientific and technological advances. But whilst the G7 is an important group representing 2/3 of the global pharmaceutical market, the majority of the world's genomic capability, and world leaders in life sciences and clinical trials, it is not the only group. At the United Nations General Assembly last September, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson set out a 5-point plan to strengthen global health security, where we will work with partners from around the world, indeed anyone and everyone who we believe can make a difference in global health security, working on a basis of trust, transparency, and cooperation. Because, as others have said, no one is safe until everyone is safe. And in that spirit, the UK has been a consistent voice for global solidarity throughout this pandemic. And that's why things like COVAX really matter. We raised 2.4 billion for the COVAX commitment, which will distribute at least 1.3 billion doses of COVID vaccine to 92 developing countries. There was a time when, sadly, I could list the countries who have received jabs through COVAX. However, the speed and scale of it is now building and is so impressive that the list is already 70 countries and rising, reaching every continent of the world. This is the right thing to do and the right thing to be working together to do. Crucially, the UK wants to continue to be that voice with others of solidarity long after this pandemic is over. That's also why it's important, we feel, to donate in the size and scale we do to the Global Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, which has helped raise over $9 billion to immunize some 300 million children against other killer diseases. And through the Fleming Fund, helping 24 countries across Africa and Asia tackle that slow pandemic of AMR. Because equally concerning to us should be the diseases we can treat now, but that will become untreatable in the future. In concluding, the pandemic has shown how we are all on the same side in the battle for global health. It's rarely a lack of agreement or indeed a lack of ideas that holds us back, but the lack of opportunity, that call to action that we've been missing. I believe now that we have it. The pandemic has brought us together, and as Regita said at the start, we need to be optimistic that we can do better. True leadership will mean that we can never, and we should never, work apart again. We must embrace and build on the spirit of collaboration for the future. And I'm excited what we can do as a world beyond the pandemic, embracing advances in population health and sharing experiences and solutions on everything from obesity to mental health, some of our toughest challenges. It's an exciting prospect and vital work, and I feel proud to be part of it with distinguished colleagues as are here today. So thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing much more from others, both in the panel talks and also in the breakout sessions, to hear reflections and ideas on this most important agenda, how we can tackle the central challenges for all of humanity with transparency, cooperation, and trust. But most importantly, how we do this together. And on that note, I would finally like to wish Shiri a speedy recovery, and thank you for asking me to attend today.
Thank you so much, Honourable Ms. Jo Churchill. I think you have expressed how important solidarity is for you and for your country. You have shared with us the great work that you have done in the UK in dealing with these very difficult situations over the last couple of months. Now, you said we need to stand united in these times of crisis, and probably sports has the power as well to unite us. It has an incredible power to energize us, to give us joy and hope. And so we are very happy that we can address the topic of ethics in sports and how sports has been able to tackle with this crisis in this conference in a dedicated session, but also now with a very honorable guest. The WFEB has been holding conferences on the importance of ethics and leadership in sports, for example, at the FIFA headquarters, at Union Berlin in the Bundesliga, and also in collaboration in Oslo with Anti-Doping Norway. And now we have with us the head of social responsibility of the UEFA, Dr. Michele Uva. The word is yours.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I would like to thank President Kulkarni and the World Forum of Ethics in Business for organizing this event and for inviting UEFA and myself to be part of it. We are currently living in a time of great uncertainties and disorientation. Our ultimate goal is to strengthen and to unite the larger global community to give hope and raise confidence for all generations to come. UEFA's duty as an international institution is to enable, through football, the proliferation of innovative and disruptive ideas of progress. Football, or soccer, as you wish, is a global community with global interactions. With the 4.6 billion fans and 583 million active players, UEFA matches have reached 18 billion social media content interaction throughout 2020 season. The outreach of matches and events to such an extensive network is heartwarming for sure. However, these numbers also shine a light on our great responsibility towards each and every one of these individuals, considering that a wide majority are under the age of 18. Today, I will touch upon a few insights to how football has been affected to the current pandemic, and will focus on how we are approaching this for the long-term development of all our activities. On the football side, COVID affects all levels, professional and amateur football, men's and women's, senior, youth and children, clubs and national teams. The management, sponsor and broadcasters are all impacted to the various degrees. After a break of play, our activities returned in August 2020, and 1.2 thousand games, 99% of those that have been scheduled, were played in 10 UEFA competitions, and 40 national associations concluded the top national championship. The investment in ensuring matches were played safely, of course, was large but necessary. Our responsibility towards fans, players, and workers push us to keep our ecosystem fully operational. While physical health has and will be something we as society need to continue to focus on, we also know that we have and will continue to have a mental health pandemic in parallel to this, and there is no vaccines for that. Mental health needs a different approach, and we need to put more resources to tackle it to mitigate the pandemic's impact, especially for the younger generation, which constitute our large base of grassroots in football. Knowing that football has the power to unite us, to bring positive development and to promote good physical health, we as the European governing body will also take action to reduce the stigma around mental health. We are looking into the most effective way of doing as we speak. Football is an investment on many levels, and public health is one of the most important of this, now more than ever. At UEFA, we have and will continue to highly value collaboration with international institutions in the work we do, and through all the topics mentioned here today. Joint projects engaging public authorities are key in creating a lasting impact, and we will continue to invest in this, ensuring that football contributes in making active, health and healthy lifestyle accessible for all people, from all backgrounds throughout all our lives. With inequalities being deepened across all intersections of society, young adults and women will face a difficult period to come, as the employment market is negatively affected by the pandemic, especially for them. This has the possibility to create a generational divide, which we cannot overlook, and from the football side, restarting youth football can be a decisive measure in recreating social connection and mending inequalities. In addition to this, women have also to come to see a large impact of the pandemic. We need to ensure that such imbalances in who is affected is abolished. And at UEFA, we are committed to ensuring that the development of the women in football and women's football keeps a solid platform and remains a strategic priority within European football. We need to consider the positive contribution that football can have in the society. We were not prepared for what the pandemic meant for the sports and our activities, but with the community coming together, our administration, our member association, our stakeholders, and on and off the pitch, we have been able to still ensure the delivery of the key activities. And mentioned before, matches have been played, which might be seen as a small aspect of bringing a touch of normality to fans at home, but it also to ensure that impact on football's economy is reduced. This means that from the stewards to the coaches, from cleaning crews to players, from media to medical staff, we can return to the stadium and to return to our jobs. Resuming activities means that we can continue to use the strong platform of football to stand up for key values in society, such as health and well-being, equal rights and opportunity, anti-racism, and environment actions. To date, communities have demonstrated a high degree of resilience in continuing to maintain the operation of essential services. We have all made painful but necessary sacrifices. However, we must all remember that it is the weaker and the most vulnerable people in society that are paying a disproportionate price, and football is no exception in this. As vaccination progress, we will continue to support the EU campaign. We will move from the current defensive phase to a global counterattack to jumpstart the economy and life. As in any winning team, both phases should be done with unity, sharing sacrifices, responsibilities, and rewards. This is why we should continue coming together in international and public forums, such as this one, to listen, to learn from each other in order to act as a global community. Sport and football should continue to be included in this discussion, as we could play a key role in trying to counterattack together. It is an investment in our children, in our future, into our physical and mental health, and an investment for sustainable development for foster our future. As my president leader, Alexander Cheferin, say, football is the team that outperforms the individual, is fighting together no matter who we are, and this must stay on and off the pitch. Thank you all for listening.
Mr. Michel Uva, thank you so much for highlighting the key role that sports really can play in dealing with this challenge. And if I may, I would like to notice that you and me definitely share a passion, and that is the one for soccer. Now, over the last year, it was not so much about sports. It was all about science. We all educated ourselves and we tried to understand what is really going on. How can we deal with this virus? And when will this all end? So it's good we have with us today an expert. We have with us Dr. Christian Garbe, the Managing Director of the Frankfurt Innovation Center. Dr. Garbe, the word will be yours now, and afterwards we'll come back to Mr. Bondeville. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Glaser. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm very pleased that I can give my view on today's conference about changing paradigms in the pandemic world. Thank you for inviting me as a speaker. The global pandemic of COVID-19 has shown us that an international collaborative approach is essential in managing healthcare challenges. A common issue requires a common approach. It is remarkable what medical science has reached in recent decades. But the COVID-19 pandemic has brought the sharp joy of seeing decades of cumulative scientific process in sudden concerted action. The spate of data, experiments, and insights has had profound effects on the pandemic and indeed on the future of medicine. It is also an inspiration. Around the world, scientists have put aside their own work in order to do their bit against a common foe. At the Frankfurt Innovation Center, we always worked on these technologies. However, we identified the need to merge the Western technologies in medicine with the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. This will lead to a much better understanding of both sides and will give a huge benefit to human mankind by providing affordable, applicable, actionable, and effective treatments also against COVID-19. The basis of all this is the application of genetics to medicine and the evidence of Ayurveda in a systematic and transformative way, not just in understanding the pathology of diseases, but in tracking their spread and curing and preventing them. This approach could underpin what is becoming known as Ayurgenomics, as a holistic, integrative approach to health and well-being. The pandemic has also demonstrated the value of gene sequencing technologies as well as the power of Ayurvedic remedies. Observing SARS-CoV-2 as it mutates is essential if the world is to understand and defend itself against dangerous variants. Should COVID-19 become endemic, as is likely, sequencing will become the basis for developing regular booster shots. However, sequencing is just one side of the coin. As important are artificial intelligence-based tools for the interpretation of data. Artificial intelligence has already played a key role in the areas of genomics and drug development. In the Ayurgenomics project, AI-based algorithms are developed for identifying potential targets of the traditional Ayurvedic formulations. Using these predictions and available knowledge, an Ayurvedic product recommendation system can be set up, which could recommend the Ayurvedic products to the patients more precisely. Outcomes from this project will play a major role in our understanding the molecular basis of the mode of action of traditional Ayurvedic formulations and how these could be implemented in the current healthcare system. Another area of work is where the pandemic has revealed a gap. Even today's progress has yet to produce small molecule antivirals to combat SARS-CoV-2. The focus for natural security should be drugs and Ayurvedic remedies aimed at the viral families most likely to cause trouble in the future. This is not something that the market will support on its own. New mechanisms that involve governments will be needed, such as funds for R&D and clinical studies and trials. Similar approaches should also be used for the looming threat of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Technology will not in itself avoid pandemics. That goal also requires systems and institutions which use technology and implement them broadly and wisely. We need to scientifically explore the benefits of traditional systems of medicine for wider acceptance across the globe. Ayurveda, yoga, naturopathy, osteopathy can play significant roles along with modern allopathic medicine, if sustainably integrated. This can be done in technology centers. Without good systems, great technology will often provide only normal results. Therefore, we need a paradigm shift that brings together biomedical science and the ancient wisdom to improve the health status. The world must now build on both. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Garber, for your great speech. And you talked about the importance of technology. I would like to take the opportunity to also thank our technology team here for the conference. Many millions around the world are able to see and connect and to reflect on this very important topic. And that wouldn't be possible without a great team, a team which we don't see now, but which is tirelessly working to make this possible. Thank you. Now, we had a technical glitch in our connection to Oslo, but I believe now, Mr. Bondevik, we can connect. And I would like to introduce again the Honorable Mr. Kjell Magne Bondevik. You are the former Prime Minister of Norway and importantly, the founder of the Oslo Center. Can you hear us? It's great to have you.
Please unmute yourself, Mr. Bondevik.
And on an iPhone, I think you're connected to an iPhone, it's left side up. There's a button, I believe, left side up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very good. Thank you so much. Wonderful. All good.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to join this important conference. Excellencies, dear friends, and to the host, please convey my best regards to my friend Shri, and wish him the best and quick recovery. I'm sorry for the technical problems I had with my microphone on the computer here in the cabin up in the north of Europe, in Norway, where I'm staying for the time being. But now we use the iPhone, and I hope it will work to some extent. The COVID-19 pandemic is a threat to core values of our societies. I will focus on two of them. First, on mental health, in which I'm engaged, but also comment on good governance and democracy, which is the main program field of the Oslo Center. As already mentioned, today is the World Health Day. And it is, of course, obvious that the COVID-19 has huge consequences for our physical health. Already millions of people are dead. Many more are ill. But we do hope that the infect restrictions and vaccines gradually will reduce the consequences. But we need more focus on the consequences for the mental health. We know that the social relations with family members and friends are of utmost importance for our well-being and mental health. Human beings are social of nature, and that is also why isolation is a penalty for crime. We are social. We need social relations, and more or less social isolation, as in these days, is a challenge to us as human beings and consequently to our mental health. We heard today from the US that 2 of 10 people are affected by depression and or anxiety because of the changed living conditions under COVID-19. That is serious. This is one example of how important it is to open up again the society. If not, I'm afraid that we get a real relapse for our efforts for a better mental health among common people. We should especially be aware of the situation for young people and elderly people. Young people are used to meet daily in schools or universities, and they are often in a vulnerable phase of their lives. Focus on safe and sustainable frameworks of their lives serve to stabilize their health. For elderly people, we know that to see their children and grandchildren and other family members from time to time is of great importance for their well-being. Many also like to meet other elderly people at cafes and elder centers and so on. So, and when these possibilities are forbidden or very limited, it is an obvious consequence that this is a challenge to manage mental health. It is therefore, a huge task for governments and authorities all over the world to meet these challenges. It is about how to reach out to the vulnerable groups and how to build up the capacity for treatment in the healthcare system. I'm afraid that because of a natural focus on healthcare for people who are physical ill because of COVID-19, the needs for mentally ill people will be neglected. The Prime Minister of Norway, where I live today, announced that our government now established a group of experts to study the mental health consequences of the pandemic.
Welcome, Honorable Minister Mathiera. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Krishna.
The pleasure to be part of this conference. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you with us.